Welcome to Let's Play Rule the Waves 2 as Germany Done Very Small, Episode 7. What happened to Episode 6? I've been ill. And when I was ill, I had a good idea. And I tweaked my screen recording settings and improved it. I improved it so much, it came out with no sound. Sorry about that. I have tried various ways to recover it, but I realized that I was just dithering and delaying cracking on with the rest of the series, which is a shame because episode 6 was quite a good one. I sank another French battleship, the Ocean, and tipped the balance of power in Germany's favour decisively, and the French very wisely sued for peace. When I say changing the balance of power, I mean the French were pretty much crushed. I've done a little visual aid to show the state of France now. Let's have a look. Here's an area graph. The bigger the area, the greater the tonnage. So in yellow, we have mighty Britain, with its battleships, its armoured cruisers, protected cruisers, destroyers, and a couple of corvettes. In the middle, America. Here are Russia and Germany, almost equal size. Japan, Italy, and what's left of France. Bear in mind that when the war started against Germany, France was approximately the same size as Germany. That's how much they've suffered in this war. So back to the game. Where are we? June 1903. France, as I said, is defeated, and Russia is our closest rival, which is handy. If we have a look at the bar graphs and zoom in to Europe, you will see that we are the biggest in Europe, followed by Britain, a tiny bit of France, a tiny bit of Russia, surprisingly. So although they have the equivalent navy to us, their navy is currently scattered around the world. That makes them a pretty good target for trying to have a war. The fleet is still pretty much as it was. 2 Weissenborgs, battleships, 2 Victoria Louise armoured cruisers, a few destroyers. We did lose 3 during the war, so we do need some more. Luckily, research has come up with destroyers of 600 tons, so I'm tempted to build some of them when I clear the current construction. Under construction is a healer class, which I hope to serve with the main fleet, and half a dozen corvettes configured for colonial service, which I hope will take over this tonnage required on foreign stations, which currently I'm using a precious armoured cruiser to deliver, and a couple of destroyers. So the plan is to rattle through the next few months, see what developments come up, let our budget settle down so that we go back into the positive, and build up our strength and increase our tensions with Russia. So let's push on and see what the month will bring. Improved subdivision, that's always good. Hooray for the corvettes. And lots of good stuff happening. Okay, I've sorted out the foreign stations, moving everything back. Major arms company, of course, a strong arms industry is absolutely vital. Now, this is always a good sign when you get the medium wing turrets, allowing secondaries up to 10 inches. It can be a bit of a false dawn, because the temptation, obviously, is to construct a semi-dreadnought. 11-inch main armament, 9, 10-inch secondaries inside turrets, whereas really the rate of fire at this time still favours the use of 6-inch guns, but it is a good sign. I am conscious that I haven't got enough destroyers, but looking at the research, I can only build up to 600 tons, and 600 tons is still, very, very tight for getting a good weapons load. So I'm going to push my research to high. in order to progress that up to 700 tons, where you start to get a much better kind of destroyer. You'll see that the research advances have all been pretty even the things we have an advantage in, which is armor development, subdivision and damage control, and armor piercing projectiles, of which actually we still haven't seen very much. I'm keeping the budget at 10%. Let's have a little look at the almanac to see how we are faring in terms of our technology. So our technical development is average. The British are very advanced. The French are average. The Italians, bless, are backward. The Russians are average. The Japanese are backward. And the Americans are advanced. So Britain and America ahead of us, unsurprisingly. I'm also going to turn down the intelligence from the French, which I should have done a couple of turns ago. Back down to low. I'm going to turn up the intelligence on the British and the Americans, because if anybody's worth spying, it has to be those guys, you'd imagine. British have commissioned a new battleship. Right. So let's just take a pause and have a little look at the balance of power at the moment. So here's the classic view. We have 2 battleships. The British have now gone up to 7. How well they're doing in terms of heavy guns. Then you'll notice we have 4 heavy gun ships, because our armoured cruisers have 11-inch guns. The British, although they have 7 battleships, only have 5 with heavy guns. So a little bit deceptive advantage for the British there. 2 against 7 suddenly looks a lot better when it's 4 against 5. The budgets, by the way, have also recovered. You'll see the actual numbers have returned pretty much to 1902 levels. 36 has gone to 35. The French have gone down quite a bit. 42 has gone to 33 because of their reduced status. But in terms of the actual graph there, you can see everyone's pretty much returned to whatever normal looked like. Recent improvements in productivity. Love recent improvements in productivity. And the Americans have slipped in another light cruiser. It's taken us to nearly 37 and a monthly balance of plus 1,000, which under the circumstances is not super high. We've got a 13,000 war chest, but really that needs to be a little bit better than that. So unfortunately, a colonial crisis has arisen with Italy. Bear in mind, Italy is our ally, so we don't want to go ham-fisted into this and wildly increase the tensions with Italy. We'll do a little bit of attention and a little bit of budget, and just see how that goes. Advanced tactics, mine warfare. With mine warfare comes an incentive to increase the number of coastal batteries that I have. Thinking about how much money I'm saving, it doesn't seem enough, so I'm going to put all of the big ships into the reserve fleet, and that should increase it a fair chunk. So from 1,400 to 2,100. That seems worthwhile doing. What I'm really keen to do is save up for a new major ship, but I'm not going to invest that money until I get some decent research results through. AP projectiles is one of our skills, and cross-deck fire. Now that is interesting. Let's have a look at the design implications of being able to do cross-deck fire. So let's have a look at ship design. In our local yard, we still only have 15,000 ton capacity. I probably should increase that, but just for now, I'm not going to try and use our precious money into increasing the dockside capacity when I can just go to a nice friendly nation. And as you can see, everyone's friends with us at the moment. Probably too friendly, but I can't do anything about that. So let's go to Britain and see what they can offer us. Well, hello. That's a lot more interesting. A 6 broadside, 13-inch gun, and still only using 16,000 tons. Now, they can build up to 20, so let's crank this up. Let's crank this up all the way. So the British do have 14-inch guns, don't have 15-inch guns. Okay, let's stick with the 14. Ammunition should always be at least 100. Central firing is as good as it gets at the moment. But boy, do we have a lot of weight remaining. Hooray. Let's have a little look at the immunity zone. So we are currently immune to our own guns with an inch of deck less and up to 7 inches of belt armor. We already have 9.5. Right, I've forgotten about the speed. I'm normalizing my fleet at 21 knots, again, in order to give them a longer shelf life, which has put us over. So we'll have to make some weight savings. Let's take this down to 10, nearly there. Anything else obvious? I'm reluctant to bring that down too much. That does give us the extra we need, and it allows me to increase these 3-inch guns. Again, because I expect them to last a long time, anti-aircraft will probably become a thing. So fitting them out now with potential anti-aircraft guns for the future sounds like a wise investment. So I'm pretty excited by this design. Yeah, I could wait another year and we would get 4 turrets rather than just the 3. But at 21 knots, I think this is going to be a challenging vessel for every other nation in the world to defeat. I've had a little look at the almanac and I noticed that the British are building their own Dreadnought battleship, the Resolution. No details are currently available, but I would imagine it's comparable to this. Possibly not even as good. I mean, would the British build a better warship for a foreign country than they supply to their own navy? Hell yes. Let's save. It's all okay. And do I want to? Yes. I mean, it's going to be expensive, but I think it's going to be well worth it. And you can see here how far we are behind, having only just discovered 12-inch guns. I just want to check back to see if I have any intelligence about the Dreadnought the British are building. It's not a feature I use too often, but you can filter the intelligence reports to just this. So Britain, destroyer, cruiser. Collingwood has a 19 knots bully for the Collingwood. So the British have been advertising 14-inch guns since November 1902. So it's probable, therefore, that the Resolution that they're building does have 14-inch guns. But given its lighter weight, I imagine it is slower. Some more intelligence. Not much tension going on at the moment, it has to be said. Great Britain is refitting the Renown with central firing. Well, we've all got central firing. Actually, let me just double check whether that's true. Central rangefinder. Hello. So, yes, we do actually need to refit. But we don't have central rangefinding. That's why we haven't refitted it yet. Major arms manufacturer wants to enter into technology sharing with Russia. Now, technology sharing can be great, although the Russians are behind, so I doubt that they will be able to offer us that much. And actually, I want tensions to rise, and they're only at 1 at the moment, which is pathetic. So, yes, let us go to the build screen. Hooray. So that's going to take us 27 months. We do have to keep good relations with Britain. Otherwise, they will take over that, and we will not benefit, and that would be most upsetting. Minor allies in the Balkans is threatened. Of course, we're going to back them unconditionally. Hull construction. So I'm going to go to research. I'm going to look at fire control, which we currently have as low. And I'm going to crank that up to high. You'll have noticed a few months ago I set the light forces, the destroyers, up to high, and nothing has happened. It is a gradual thing. It doesn't produce instant results. Internal upheaval. Britain is apparently sending a force there, ostensibly. Yeah, of course they want to take control. We should push for an international force. If I look at our tensions with Britain, actually, I'm going to say no. Unless that impacted our prestige, which it doesn't, because they're building us a lovely battleship. Nationalist Party manages to persuade the Kaiser to authorize increased funding. Thank you very, very much. I mean, I have to say the game is ever so slightly swayed towards right wing equals defense spending, left wing equals social spending. It's a little bit simplistic. British reports have invented steam turbines. They are cranking up. So a little bit of research for the submarines, which is nice. I've resisted building any submarines at the moment because their long-term reliability is very, very poor at the moment. I would like to see that increase before I really start to invest, again, because you have to play the long game whilst you've got so few. Again, just checking on research, I noticed that our two most successful research areas, ship design and submarines, with 3 levels of increase each, are both set to low. So the temptation is to send someone out and see if we can't grab Mozambique. I'm not going to do that, because as we've seen with the foreign stations, it's a right royal pain. And the increase in the economy by seizing an economy like Mozambique is very, very small. The British continue to upgrade their guns. Right, the Americans, bless, are offering to sell us. Yes, we need this technology. I'm just going to put the Weissenburgs into rebuild in order to upgrade them to central firing. It's only going to take 4 months and cost a little bit. I could have improved secondary guns. Okay, well, if I could have improved secondary guns, I will. Still keeps it down to 4 months. Can't help the accommodation. Ditto, I could do the 2 armoured cruisers, but I'm just going to wait until the Weissenburgs are finished so as not to overload our monthly balance. Which nation is the most likely in a war? I mean, this is just a freebie to increase tensions with the person you dislike the most. And of course, that's Russia at the moment. And more improved fire control. Well, that's very, very nice. Thank you very much. I'm just going to increase the intelligence on Russia a little bit. We've got blueprints of the Russian Dreadnought. Well, let's have a look at that. 12 11-inch guns. Okay, that's a thing. So our broadside for our Vart class with 6 14-inch guns is probably going to be heavier. Yes, 6 14-inch guns is substantially heavier broadside than 8 11-inch guns. Obviously, this has greater redundancy, but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And the speed at 20 knots, I'm also fine with. Well done, Spy. Oh, and the Americans. So the Americans are building a similar ship, again 20 knots, 6 broadside, this time 13-inch. And here come back our Weissenburgs. Time to send in Victoria Louises. Their fire control improved. Anything else? Well, the 6-inch guns, actually. Great. Do all of that. Now, obviously, this is digging into our reserve funding. Can't be helped. Private shipyards have increased our docks to 16,000. Well, thank you very much, private shipyards. So, the old disarmament conference. Well, if we go for agreeing to it, we lose budget, tension, and prestige. That doesn't sound very good. Whereas if we say we're not going to really take part, we gain prestige and tension. And both of those sound lovely things to have. British rebuilt their Ansons. Are now advertising 15-inch guns. Okay, so, I mean, if we keep our tensions with Britain low, I know it's not going super well at the moment, but, tension level of 4 is okay, but we really shouldn't allow that to go any further. The USA is interested in our cross-deck firing. Well, by all means, because, we need the money. And some torpedo. It's important to notice the range and speed. Our torpedoes now can go out at 28 knots at 900 yards. So a super close-in weapon. And the only way to eke that out a little bit further is to our ship and their ship to be approaching so they combine their speed. So if they're doing 20 knots and we're doing 20 knots, that's 40 knots, and then add on to that the high-speed torpedo, and you get a decent increase in effective range. Conversely, just don't try using torpedoes when you're chasing. So torpedoes at this very moment are not the devastating weapons unless you get really, really, really close. That's going to change in the next few years. If we have a quick look at the almanac just to see who's building what, the British are still building their Dreadnought for 1907. The French have started building one, rebuilding their fleet for 1908. The Italians are building 2 pre-dreadnoughts for 1908. The Russians equally are building a dreadnought. The Japanese are not, but probably will be soon. And the Americans are building one for 1908. So we're slightly ahead of the game. We don't have technical details for any of these ships, but I noticed that all of them, bar the Russian one, is smaller than our own. So I'm expecting it to be slower. So that's it for now. I hope that's been helpful for you at trying to manage these tiny little navies. And I'll hopefully see you next time. Stay safe.